Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Nick Sorensen and Giancarlo have the front row. Wessel Stevens, Andrew Lau on the second row. Byron Debelow and Rudolph Gunther have the third row. Mike Marshall and the rookie Will Moore on the fourth row. Mike Dalling and Max Gunther round out the top 10. Callie Evian starts in 11th. Remember, race 1, a 20-minute sprint race. Race 2 will be the endurance. And the top 7 from race 1 will invert going into race 2. Drivers making final adjustments and getting stacked up on the grid. Remember, last week, some of the drivers went a little too light on the fuel. Some very close calls, including that last lap incident in race 2 coming to the finish line. A McLaren dominant field here today. 7 McLarens, 2 BMWs, and sadly, 2 Fords. Looks like everybody has taken to the grid, about to start rolling behind the pace car. Don't forget, make sure you're following on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and YouTube. If you've missed any races at all, you can find them. All 4 years of our broadcasting is on our YouTube channel. Very hard to believe we have been doing this for 4 years, but thank you so much to this wonderful community that keeps having me come in and broadcast races. And likely going to see some new broadcasts coming in the very near future. Hopefully we'll get back to some dirt racing as well. The final few turns of this 8.5 mile, just shy of 8.5 mile track. 33 turns and several long straightaways where straight line speed is going to be very, very important. Drivers, we're talking about the balance of power on the cars. The McLarens do not have the same straight line speed they had just a week ago. How big of an impact will that have today? Porsche pace car is in. Sorensen fires, green flag is in the air. They are down and away at LeMans. And already 3 wide is Byron on the attack. Byron in that Mustang fighting for third place with Andrew Lau. Close battle back behind. Wessel Stevens and Rudolph Gunther right there with them. Mike Dalling battling with Callie Evian at the back at the moment. We'll see how the BMW handles here this morning compared to all the McLarens. But Andrew Lau holds on to third place, so it is McLaren's first through sixth place at the moment. Mike Marshall going on the attack already. Mike already up into the top five. Whoa, it's going to get spicy back behind. Looks like there might have been some contact between Max and Mike Dolling. Both of them come out okay. Meanwhile, up front, Sorensen and Giancarlo nose to tail pulling away. Already a 1 second gap on third place, Andrew Lau. Wessel Stevens back in fourth, Byron Debelow in fifth. Mike Marshall slipped back to sixth. Nick Sorensen has had a problem. Sorensen has gone from first to 11th. We'll take a look at the end of the first lap. Coming back onto the straightaway, this is where the driver said those Mustangs may have a bit of an advantage if they don't blow up. Byron Debelow now up into fourth place, trying to close the gap on Wessel up in third. Wessel has caught up to the top two, Giancarlo and Andrew Lau. Mike Marshall, though, right on the back bumper of Byron Debelow. Marshall has been getting faster and faster. We saw him coming on strong at the end of the last season, and the start of this season has gone in his favor, especially with the new division between the pro and amateur. Right now, Marshall leading in the amateur ranks. Giancarlo starting to pull away from Lau and Stevens at the moment. Byron Debelow in the Mustang has had a problem as well. As Giancarlo leads lap one. And let's take a look at the early incidents here. Nick Sorensen in the McLaren. Oh, little wobbly coming out of that turn. Goes around, just gives the fence a little bit of a kiss. Minor damage to the front of that car. Byron Debelow in the Ford. Just gets loose coming through the turn, and he gives the front, or gives the wall love tap, but loses the front end. Byron has gone to pit road for repairs. Does look like Sorensen stayed out, but with this track being such an aero-dependent track, top end speed being key here, that damage could be catastrophic for his race. Giancarlo, meanwhile, out front has already pulled a 3 1/4 second lead over Andrew Lau and Wessel Stevens. Rudolph Gunther currently in fourth, Mike Marshall in fifth, as Evian right beside. Evian outbreaks him. Will Moore, the rookie, right behind. and the Minister of Defense, Mike Doling, right behind him. Max Gunther also still in the fight. Sorensen quite a ways behind. Byron Debelow is back out off pit road. Giancarlo does have a big lead over Lau, but Lau starting to pull away from third place. Wessel Stevens. Rudolph Gunther now in fourth. The leader of Team Gunther having a great morning now that he has hopped in a McLaren. It was a huge surprise to see Team Gunther not in their usual Porsches this morning. Back behind, fifth and sixth, Mike versus Mike. Mike Marshall in fifth, Mike Doling, the Minister of Defense, in sixth. Marshall knows he cannot let Doling get past. Max Gunther back in seventh, still has Will Moore on the bumper. The rookie currently running in eighth. Wessel Stevens is pulled back up to the back bumper of Andrew Lau. And Max Gunther has had a problem back behind. There is Max in the BMW, just gets loose out of the turn and gets into the wall. Same place we saw Byron get into the wall earlier on. Giancarlo back out on the straight. Nick Sorensen is already back up into eighth, and Sorensen has the fastest lap so far. Sorensen's fast lap of 3:57.68. Only one other driver is in the 3:57 range. That is second place, Andrew Lau, with a 3:57.97. But Wessel is on the move for second place. Wessel Stevens going into second. Wessel, his first season with NSS, is definitely making his name known here today. Wessel 3.5 seconds behind Giancarlo, trying to close the gap. Our apologies, it does appear the stream has gotten a little glitchy. I'm not sure what is going on. We're not seeing any issues on our end. Wessel Stevens in second, 3 1/4 seconds back, trying to close the gap on the leader, Giancarlo. Wessel Stevens trying to close the gap, but it's going to be difficult. Giancarlo set the fastest lap last time by with a 3:56.41, the fastest lap we have seen all morning long. Max Gunther has had another problem back behind. Max in that final sector of the track, those tight 90-degree turns on the power, the back end just steps out on him. Quickly gets it corrected, but loses even more track position. Giancarlo is pulling away from Wessel, has also gone by Callie Evian to put him a lap down. Wessel in second. Andrew Lau now in third. Rudolph Gunther in fourth. Mike Dolling has moved up into fifth. Mike Marshall in sixth. The rookie Will Moore now to seventh with Sorensen on his bumper in eighth. Does not look like that front end damage on Sorensen's car is having an impact this morning. As Sorensen goes by to take seventh. And Will Moore has had a problem back behind. As Sorensen goes by, he gets back on the power and just snaps around into the wall. A very hard hit, breaking the front end. That is going to have a dramatic effect on the handling of that car. Giancarlo coming into the final sector. Will he see the white flag this time is the question. Did not see the white flag flying. Hey, good morning, Glenn. How are you, buddy? Mike Dowling now 4 spots into 5th, is closing the gap on 4th place. Rudolph Gunther. Will Moore has come to pit road to get that Ford fixed. As Giancarlo back out on the straight. Wessel Stevens right back on the bumper of Lau. Mike Marshall in 6 as Sorensen closing in. Again, that front end damage just not impacting Sorensen very much. And Giancarlo, no surprises, checked out. He has a 6-second lead at the moment over Lau. Rudolph Gunther in the new car this morning, currently running in 4th, but Dowling has caught him. And Sorensen gaining ground on Marshall as Will Moore came back off pit road, has had another problem. Will coming through. Oh! Gets loose on the power and another hard hit into the fence. That engine, no, it is still running, surprisingly, but heavily damaged, that Mustang. Giancarlo into the final sector of the track. Will he see the checkered flag this time? No checker. This will be the final lap for Giancarlo. He just set the fastest lap again and is still the only driver in the 3:56 range. Andrew Lau in 2nd, not gaining any ground. Wessel Stevens in 3rd, about a second or about 2 seconds back. Rudolph Gunther in 4th, Mike Dowling in 5th, closing ground on Rudolph just a little bit. Mike Marshall holds on to 6th for the moment, but Sorensen all over the bumper. Max Gunther, despite the 2 earlier incidents, in 7th. Byron Devereaux back in 8th. The rookie Will Moore in 9th. And Callie Evian looks like he is out of race 1 in 11th. Meanwhile, Giancarlo continuing to extend that lead. It is now 7.25 seconds. Byron Debelow has come back down pit road with that heavy damage to the front of that car. Andrew Lau in second, Wessel Stevens in third. Wessel gains a little ground, then loses it. He is currently about 1.7 seconds back. Rudolph Gunther back and forth now as Mike Doling, the Minister of Defense, all over the bumper. Doling looks, but can he outbrake him? Gunther holds him off for the moment. That is allowing Sorensen, who moves into sixth, to close in quickly. Mike Marshall back in seventh, Max Gunther in eighth, Will Moore in ninth, and Debelow in 10th. Andrew Lau in second place, just gaining no ground. Giancarlo 8 seconds ahead. He started in second. He's gonna do it again. Giancarlo dominates race 1 at Le Mans. Andrew Lau is gonna come home in second, and Wessel Stevens in third. And let's see if we can get a word with our top three. Starting with Wessel Stevens. Wessel, congratulations. That was one heck of a third place finish.
Yeah, thank you, man. I'm glad to be back here and my first podium this season. So I'm pretty glad.
Well, we've seen you in the McLaren all season long. Now everybody coming out in the McLaren this week. How do you feel about that? Does that take away your edge at all?
I don't know. Everybody's free to choose their own cars, of course. And I'm glad that they see and agree with me that the McLaren is simply the best car.
Well, you definitely made a show of it today. You let them know you were here. Congratulations, buddy.
Thank you, man.
Wessel Stevens comes home in third. Andrew Lau coming home in second. Andrew, you're back on the podium, buddy. Great job. And you're muted, by the way. Looks like Lau maybe haven't. There he is.
Hello.
Hey, buddy. Congratulations, you're back on the podium.
Yeah, thanks. It's I've been away from the league for a little bit, so it's really nice to be back up here.
You definitely put on one heck of a show, and man, you had a great run this morning as well, moving up from fourth to second, and a little bit of battling there in the early going.
Yeah, it was fun. We were just trading slowdowns actually for a little bit, but I had one good overtake into Indy 1, and then he had a slow down, so I was just able to keep up like 2 seconds on him, so that gave a second.
Well, it was a great job, a great finish, and now you got to start from the back. Hopefully you can work your way up quickly.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm still getting acclimated to the McLaren. I just got it this morning, so I'm just trying to keep it clean for the most part.
Well, for just getting the car, one heck of a job, bud. Congratulations.
Thank you, Doug.
That is impressive. First time he's driven the car was today, and let's talk to our winner. Giancarlo, you're back on top of the podium, surprising absolutely nobody.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking forward to a good race with Nick. He had a great time on pole. Unfortunately, he had that issue, and then I just kind of tried to stay consistent with it.
Well, not only were you consistent, you were pulling away quite rapidly and got a big lead late in the race. I think it was 8 seconds when you crossed the start-finish line.
Yeah, well, the second race was always a bit more interesting. Unfortunately, it's not just hot lapping. There's a decent amount of strategy that goes into it, so we'll see what we can do.
Speaking of strategy, we saw some close calls on fuel last week. We know that the tires have been an issue in weeks past. Will you be taking tires today? And are you going to try anything on the fuel, or will you just fill her up?
I mean, I always try to cut it as close as I can on fuel, so hopefully that will work again, but I don't know about tires. I might end up taking 2, but not sure which ones yet.
Well, how about the left front and the right rear, just for laughs? Well, man, congratulations. Another win. Good luck in race 2, buddy.
Thanks, Doug.
Giancarlo back on top. His second win so far. He won race 1 at Silverstone. Can he pull off a second and the first sweep of the season here at Le Mans? And our apologies, we have no idea what is causing the glitching this morning. We'll obviously be working on it before BRR tonight. And you will be able to watch this race on our YouTube channel this afternoon, along with every season of GT3 NSS. Just a little bit left to go here in the warm-up before we go on to race 2, the endurance race. This will test the drivers. We saw some problems for a few of them in race 1. It'll be interesting to see if they can make the adjustments going into race 2. Byron Devereaux out getting some last minute testing. Off tracks will be an issue. You heard him talking, you heard Giancarlo mention slowdowns in race 1, race 2. That's going to be an even bigger problem with the longer race. As always, if you have a favorite driver in the field, don't forget to drop into the comments. Let us know who you're cheering for, and let us know, do you think anybody can beat the McLarens this morning? Warm-up coming to a close. It's time to go back racing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Race number 2. We'll see Mike Marshall and Nick Sorensen on the front row. Mike Dolling and Rudolph Gunther on the second row. Wessel Stevens, Andrew Lau in the third row. Giancarlo will drop to 7th with the invert. Max Gunther in 8th. Will Moore and Byron Devereaux round out the top 10. Callie Evian starts in 11th. All the drivers quickly to the grid. And it appears Callie Evian will not be taking part in this race. He did not take to the grid. Hey, good morning, Richie. Good morning, Pat. And thank you for the follow, LAR2RO, I think. Lataro. How's it going, Richie? When are we going to see you back with this group? Looks like it is starting to get dark here in Le Mans. We may end up under the lights. Could be a huge factor going through race 2. Currently 7:50 local time. Looking at the track temp, 69 degrees, could cool off. Air temp could cool off as well. Porsche pace car hits pit road. They come out of the final turn. Green flag is in the air. They are away. Race 2. And Mike Marshall, we saw him have a lot of speed in race 1, quickly trying to break away. Oh, we've got one heart in the wall. It's Max Gunther. Max is going to pit road. We'll look at the early incidents at the completion of lap 1, but wow. Callie Evian not taking part in race 2. Max Gunther in trouble early. Wow, what a start. Giancarlo won race 1, had to start in 7th, has already moved to 6th, but Sorensen on the attack. Heading into Indy 1, and Sorensen to the lead. Marshall right on his bumper. Will he be able to attack? Goes wide, and Rudolph gets the gap. Guessing Marshall had a slowdown. Well, Richie, I'm just glad you're okay, buddy. Whoa! We've got a lot of cars going wide. Looked like Lau went really wide through there. Mike Marshall holds on to third, but there is a pack chomping right behind. Richie Joplin cheering on Sorensen. Sorensen has a breakaway. Rudolph trying to stay with him. Wessel Stevens now in third, side by side with race 1 winner Giancarlo. Whoa! Giancarlo Wessel's around. Was there contact with Giancarlo? Andrew Loud out of 4th, Mike Doling in 5th, Mike Marshall in 6th. And Sorensen still out front is starting to pull away from Rudolph Gunther. Giancarlo in 3rd, trying to run down the top 2. Lau in 4th, Doling in 5th. Wessel, after that early incident, has dropped to 9th and 7.5 seconds behind Byron. The rookie Will Moore in 7th, right on Marshall's back bumper as they come around to complete lap 1. Let's take a look at those lap 1 incidents. Saw right off the start, Max Gunther having some problems. Oh, he gets loose. Whoa! Giancarlo barely avoids that. See if we can see from a different angle here just how close Giancarlo. Wow. Giancarlo's heart stopped for a moment on that one. Let's take a different angle looking at this incident with Wessel Stevens. Does look like there was a little bit of contact, and Wessel goes around. Byron Devereaux also having problems late in the first lap, just gets loose, spins her out. Sorensen's lead now 2.8 seconds over Giancarlo, who has moved into 2nd. Rudolph Gunther still lurking in 3rd. Andrew Lau closing in at 4th. Doling in 5th. Mike Marshall in 6th. The rookie Will Moore in 7th. Wessel now up to 8th. Byron in 9th. And Max Gunther on his way out in 10th. Definitely a wild start to the race this morning. Sorensen's lead right at 3 seconds, but Giancarlo starting to close the gap. Could Giancarlo get the first sweep of the season? Sorensen will not make it easy for him, though. Rudolph Gunther sitting back in third now as Lau all over the back bumper. Mike Dolling in fifth, trying to close that gap. Marshall in sixth. Now has to worry about the rookie who's closing in seventh. Wessel Stevens gap back behind is closing as well. He is now only 3.9 seconds back from Will Moore. And Sorensen just set the fastest lap of race 2. 3:57.2 last time by. And he managed to extend his lead back to 3.3 seconds over Giancarlo. Sorensen definitely flying around here today. The McLarens have definitely been the dominant car. Richie definitely is McLaren top 5. And then McLaren's in 7th and 8th. Will Moore in the Ford in 6th. But the McLaren of Mike Marshall on his bumper might end up taking that spot. Marshall on the attack. Will drives it a little bit deeper, outbrakes him. We've seen those Fords having severe problems, though, on power out of the turn. As they battle, Wessel Stevens in a McLaren as well, also closing in. Less than 2.5 seconds back as Mike Marshall now goes to 6th. Up front, Sorensen extending his lead even further. He now has a 4-second lead over Giancarlo. Lau back in 3rd, Rudolph in 4th, Dolling in 5th. Maybe not for long. No, Dolling cannot get the move done. And we highlighted this last week, but let's ride along with Dolling, and you see McLaren just spits flames. We've seen both of the McLarens. Every McLaren we have seen at GT3 and GT4 does the same thing. The only car that is constantly spitting flames is just super cool. Could very likely see yours truly in a McLaren sometime soon. Nick Sorensen set another fast lap. 3:56.44. His lead now 3.7 seconds over Giancarlo, and he continues to pull away. Lau still sitting in third. Rudolph in fourth. Still has Mike Dolling right behind. They both have Wessel Stevens closing in. Will Moore has slipped back into seventh, and Mike Marshall in eighth. Marshall has been on the attack all day long. The Sorensen's lead now 3.5 seconds. Looks like Giancarlo is starting to gain some ground. Max Gunther, after his repairs, back out on track, but over half a lap behind at the moment. Giancarlo, wow. Giancarlo was gaining rapidly on Sorensen, but has suddenly lost in that last turn quite a bit of time. Lau back in third, Mike Dolling in fourth, still Rudolph right on his bumper. Wessel back in sixth. Will Moore still in seventh. Mike Marshall in eighth. Byron Debelow 6.5 seconds back in ninth. Max Gunther in 10th. Almost 2 minutes behind Byron after that incident early on. Andrew Lau in third, gaining no ground on the cars ahead. Dolling in fourth isn't either. Rudolph Gunther in fifth, lost some ground to Dolling last lap. Wessel Stevens now just 4.2 seconds back in sixth and closing rapidly. Will Moore in 7th. Mike Marshall in 8th was gaining on Will. And Richie, something is up this morning. My apologies for the glitches. It's definitely something on our end. We're not sure what, but we will be fixing it before BRR and SMR tonight. Sorensen's lead holding about 3.5 seconds at the moment. We'll see if Giancarlo loses time up here in this next sector where he had lost time in the next couple of turns last time by. With the sun going down, that will definitely affect lap times and how the drivers drive the track. Giancarlo got that turn right this time. Max Gunther is gaining a little bit of ground on the drivers ahead, but he is going to have to gain a lot more. He gained about 1 second on the last lap. Now, I stand corrected. He gained almost 2 seconds on the last lap, but he's going to have to gain a lot more than that. Wessel Stevens got to about 4.2 seconds behind. Rudolph was gaining rapidly on him. But at the moment, that 4.2 second gap seems to be holding steady. As I think I saw Doling have a little bobble through those final turns a moment ago. And Giancarlo just set the fastest lap so far of the day. He's the first driver to get down into the 355s. 355.90. And has gained almost a full second on Sorensen. Giancarlo continuing to close in. Lau losing more ground now. Doling and Gunther still nose to tail. Does not look like Gunther is going to make any moves anytime soon. He is just waiting, hoping Doling makes a mistake. Hey, good morning, Michael Smith. Wessel Stevens was gaining ground, but last time he lost almost a second to Rudolph. Will Moore no longer gaining ground ahead, nor is Mike Marshall. And now Mike has Byron Debelow on the bumper. And on this straight, Byron may take the position. Byron Debelow now to 8th. Giancarlo still closing the gap, but is 3 seconds behind Nick Sorensen. Sorensen went to the lead right off the bat, checked out, and so far has been untouchable. Remember, we are at the halfway point. Drivers do have to make a stop. Will we see him in this time or next? And will anybody stretch too far and run out of fuel? Sorensen not coming in. He's going to go another lap. Giancarlo will go another lap. Andrew Lau also going. Does not look like anybody is going to come to pit road this time. It does look like Mike Marshall is going to be the first to come in. So likely to see the majority of the field in next time by. Does look like Marshall did take tires. Sorensen's lead starting to shrink yet again. Giancarlo in second, now just 2.8 seconds back. Mike Dolling in fourth, starting to close the gap on Andrew Lau in third. And he has pulled a gap on Rudolph Gunther. Wessel Stevens back in sixth, now just 3.5 seconds behind Rudolph. Giancarlo still closing the gap little by little. in third, now 12.1 seconds back. And Dolan continuing to chip away. He is now 3.8 seconds back. And Sorensen is coming in. Giancarlo coming in. Lau is going to come in. Mike Dolling also in. Rudolph Gunther is coming. Wessel Stevens coming in. Expecting to see most of the field in this time. Byron Debolo, Will Moore, both in. Nose to tail, this could get tricky. Mike Marshall having already completed his stop. Max Gunther can go an extra lap. He was in on lap 1. And Giancarlo already rolling out. Sorensen back behind. Giancarlo pulls out and takes the lead. Sorensen comes off pit road 4 seconds behind in second. Lau in third, Dolling in fourth. Wessel Stevens still holding on to fifth. Rudolph Gunther right behind in sixth. Byron Debolo in seventh as Wessel Stevens has had a problem. Oh, Wessel's back end just steps out. He almost saves the drift. Just barely tapping the wall. Quickly recovers. But a heartbreak for one of the newer drivers. Giancarlo's lead now almost 5 seconds over Sorensen. Sorensen lost about 6 seconds on pit road. He was 6 seconds slower than Giancarlo. Rudolph Gunther also having a slow pit lane time as well as Byron Debolo. Giancarlo continues to pull away from Sorensen. The gap now 5.2 seconds. Andrew Lau in third, Mike Dolling in fourth, Rudolph Gunther in fifth, Wessel Stevens now in sixth, Byron Debolo in seventh, Mike Marshall in eighth. And last time by, Marshall, the fastest car on track, gained on everybody. He is gaining rapidly at the moment on Debolo. Less than 5 seconds behind Byron at the moment. Interesting to note, the top 6 drivers are all McLarens. The Ford of Byron Debelow in 7th, Mike Marshall in a McLaren in 8th. Debelow has had a problem. Will Moore has had a problem. See what happened with Debelow. Oh, overshot and slams the wall. Hard hit. He goes around, locks him up. Will Moore looks like he had lost his spoiler at some point. Let's see. A few moments before, same area, Will Moore gets turned around, backs it into the wall, and lost his spoiler. Both Fords now on pit road. The top 7, all McLaren now. Max Gunther has finally came in the BMW. Mike Marshall did say at the middle of last season, in some cases, that Mustang was just undrivable. It appears to be the case here today. And now it is a McLaren-dominated field with Giancarlo dominating race 2. He's got a 6.5 second lead on Sorensen. Andrew Lau in 3rd, Mike Dolling in 4th, Rudolph Gunther in 5th, Wessel Stevens in 6th, Mike Marshall in 7th. Byron Debelow back on track in 8th. Will Moore back on track in 9th. And Max Gunther completing his fuel stop on his way out in 10th. Giancarlo's lead 6.25 seconds over Sorensen. Lau in 3rd, not gaining any ground. Dolling in 4th. Gunther in 5th. Wessel Stevens in 6th is gaining ground on Rudolph Gunther. But he is 13.25 seconds back, a long way to go. Mike Marshall in 7th. And as we mentioned, the top 7, all McLaren this morning. Mike Marshall is gaining a little ground here and there on Wessel. He is 8.8 seconds back. Giancarlo's lead 6.3 seconds. Sorensen still trying to fight back. You know, Nick has got to be frustrated with coming to pit road with a 4-second lead and coming out 6 seconds behind. A heartbreaking morning for Nick Sorensen, but we may be about to see our first sweep of the season if Giancarlo can hold on for just a few more minutes. Nick Sorensen gains a little ground, loses a little ground. He is not making up anything significant at the moment. Mike Marshall keeps gaining a little bit of ground on Wessel, but nothing significant there as well. Based on the current gaps, unless somebody has an incident, they will finish as they run now. Will Moore in ninth was right behind Byron Devereaux. Has now slipped 2.9 seconds back. Byron in 8th. Will might be able to reel him in. Lap times have gotten faster since the sun went down. Track temperature still holding, air temperature still holding. About the same as it was at the start of the race. Likely just without the sun on the track, the drivers have a little bit more grip, and the times are showing. Rudolph Gunther has had a problem back behind. Rudolph coming into Indy 1 gets loose. Quickly gathers it up, just a little drifty drift, and gets going again. Great save, great recovery by Rudolph. Giancarlo's lead holding at 6.7 seconds over Sorensen. Sorensen almost 15 seconds ahead of third place Andrew Lau. Mike Dolling about 8.5 seconds back in fourth. Rudolph Gunther in fifth, and Max Gunther has had a problem. Max in one of the two BMWs just gets loose. A little bit of a drift. Does get it rolling again, but all that time parked will cost him a ton of track position. Rudolph Gunther in fifth. Wessel Stevens has started to chip away. He is now 3.8 seconds behind Rudolph. Mike Marshall still holds on to seventh. Byron Debelow in eighth. Will Moore back in ninth. Max in 10th. Rudolph had a couple of off tracks a moment ago. Wessel now 2.3 seconds back and gaining with 4 minutes to go. Wessel now just 2.4 seconds back. He can see Rudolph ahead. Gunther cannot afford to make any more mistakes. Wessel definitely stepping up the pace here. Trying to close that gap before they get to the finish. Wessel came into the league in the pro division. Currently sits 13th overall, 10th in the pro. And in the amateur division, Mike Marshall currently leads the points over Harry Volsmere and Byron Debelow, but Byron will move up to second in the amateurs. Meanwhile, Giancarlo has extended his lead to 7 seconds over Sorensen. Giancarlo likely seeing the white flag this time. And Sorensen has gone to pit road. He must have been short on fuel. Something is gone catastrophically wrong. Andrew Lau is about to take and has taken second place. Mike Dolling may move into third here. He does. Will Sorensen get out in the top 5? Rudolph Gunther. Wessel Stevens is in. Rudolph Gunther now to 4th. Sorensen still on pit road. Wessel Stevens headed in now. Was this a penalty stop for Sorensen? The whole race just got turned upside down in the final laps. Wessel on his way back out along with Sorensen. They will come back out. Wessel in 6th, Sorensen in 7th. And what an upset for Nick Sorensen, who had ran in the top 3, led until that first pit stop, lost a lot of ground on pit road, and now this second pit stop. What a big setback for him. And a big setback for Wessel Stevens, but despite these late stops, it is still McLaren sweeping the top 7 at the moment. Andrew Lau now in 2nd, but 25 seconds behind our leader, Giancarlo. Mike Dolling in 3rd, Rudolph Gunther now to 4th, and Mike Marshall moves up into the top 5. As Giancarlo comes toward the start-finish line, checkered flag is out. He took the lead at the pit stops and has dominated since. Giancarlo gets the first sweep of the season at Le Mans. Andrew Lau is going to come home in 2nd, Dolling in 3rd. And let's get a word with our top 3. Mike, you come home in 3rd with some late race surprises.
Again, yeah. It seems to have happened every week. I'm all right with this. That's another podium. That's like 3 weeks in a row. I don't know what's happening.
It's definitely a good thing for you, though. I mean, you're leading the points at the moment. Adam not being here and everything, you're going to continue the points lead.
Let's hope. I'm excited. Let's just see what happens for the rest of the season. But yeah, today was another good day. I'm not going to complain.
Well,
it was good.
A great start, and congratulations, buddy.
Cheers. Thanks, Doug.
Andrew Lau comes home in 2nd. Andrew, another podium here at Le Mans and a great morning of racing.
Yeah, it's been a good day.
I have to say, it looks like that McLaren may be the dominant car, and you had some of the fastest laps out there today.
Yeah, it's a good thing I only had to learn the car and not the track too. So it was pretty comfortable. It's a nice car to drive.
Well, for the first time being in the car, man, that was an amazing run. Congratulations, buddy.
Thank you, Doug.
And Giancarlo gets the first sweep of the season. Giancarlo, the first sweep of the season. You managed to get it done.
Yeah, I was looking forward to. It was a very eventful lap one. A lot of side by side action.
It definitely was. We saw a lot of excitement there, and some late race chaos managed to put you way out front.
Yeah, I think kind of fortunate. I think Wessel and I we touched a bit going into Indianapolis, so I got to watch that back to see what happened. But then it was just chasing Nick, and I got the pit stop nailed to save some time there.
Well, and that pit stop swapped the lead and swapped the time as well, and then you just shot away, ended up with a 25-second lead and a dominant performance at Le Mans this morning.
Yeah, thanks, Doug.
Giancarlo pulls off the win. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget, 7:30 tonight, BRR Cup Series, 9:30 tonight, SMR Gen 4. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Have a great day, everybody.